Please, during the seminars, do not speak. Be very considerate of those around you because they're here to earn their CEUs and learn and pay close attention to these speakers that we have in front of us. So please do that. Prior to that, Toni was a freelance reporter and owner of a deposition agency. She is a past president of the California Court Reporters Association and is currently the chair of the California Court Reporters Board and also a director on the board of the National Court Reporters Association. Thank you, Toni.
Thank you. This morning I'm going to talk about something that really is a firm belief in myself, and that is each individual can make a difference in our profession. We have the associations. You know, we see they do all the work, but the associations can only do so much. It's the individual reporter that is out in the field, having the contacts with the consumers that really have the impact on what people think about reporters, an impact on how you do as a reporter, how your business goes as a reporter. And so today I'm going to talk about some concepts and some ideas about what you can look at to get further in the field of reporting, to make that better impression, you know, on the consumer. And today we're going to talk about branding. You know, and it is said that people are hit with as many as 10,000 branding images every day. Is that better? Oh. Usually I'm not ever told that I don't speak loud enough, but this is a big room. Okay. So the question then becomes, what can you as a court reporter do to enhance your brand and the reporting profession's brand? Okay. So you hear a lot about branding these days. For that matter, you hear a lot about marketing and positioning yourself. And today I'd like to talk to you about what we mean when we use that term branding. And I'd also like to talk about how we, you and me, can identify the opportunities to strengthen our brand, the profession's brand, your individual brand, with the professionals in the legal community and beyond. And how we can employ the S word, service, to differentiate ourselves individually and beyond that as a profession, to ensure that there is appropriate awareness and appreciation of the court reporter within our communities. In essence, we really must act like evangelists for our profession. That is how we all collectively and individually will take the next step as a profession and build wider recognition and appreciation of the value that we bring to the legal community and beyond. So, the issues facing the profession today, I am sure that you are all pretty much aware of them. First of all, contracting. You know, I've heard that, you know, discussed this weekend a lot, where the ongoing pressure in the freelance community by contracting arrangements of large firms and corporations. This next issue is one that I'm deeply familiar with, and that is the aging of the profession. There's a lot of us that are getting older, and that poses a problem in some areas of the country as far as the reporter population. Another issue that, being in California, I'm definitely familiar with is digital audio recording. They are always, in California, anytime, especially when there is a budget crisis, we just know there's going to be a bill entered, you know, into the legislature to get DAR into the courtroom. So we're just prepared to deal with that. So that is always out there hovering around us, and we have to, you know, deal with that. Then the state budget crisis. Just like the state budget crisis always, you know, sort of gave birth to the, you know, DAR legislation, what we're finding in California today and what a lot of states are finding, and I'm sure you're seeing it here, is the budget is so bad now that it's hitting us in different ways. For the first time, we don't worry about DAR or digital recording. They're taking reporters out of civil courtrooms. We've always had reporters in our civil courtrooms, I mean, forever. And now, because of the statute does say they don't have to provide one, A lot of the counties in my state have taken the reporters out of the civil courtroom. So everybody's dealing with those kind of issues. Whoops, come back. Okay. Okay, and then loss of copy sales. And actually this has been going on for a while. When I talk to freelance reporters today, and how their business is going, it definitely is a problem. They don't get the copy sales that I enjoyed in the 80s. It has really made a difference. And then this has always been an issue. It just is not a recent issue. There is apathy out in the profession. I see it in some of the reporters that I work with in court. Usually I don't see it so much in here because the people that really care about the profession are at conventions and getting continuing education. But there is that apathy component that we have to deal with. But with all these issues, what I want to say is, and the other thing about apathy is a lot of reporters say they can't do anything anyway, I still talk to reporters and say, I'm going to lose my job. Of course, they've been saying that for 20-some years, that I'll lose my job. I work with one reporter that I have to keep reminding her that you are still here. You've been saying this for 20 years. You're still working. That really is not true, that reporters are not powerless in this situation. And today we're going to focus disproportionately on this last item, how you can better position yourself and, in doing so, the profession, to seize opportunities and place yourself in a position to benefit from the opportunities in the marketplace. Because, as I said before, in the end, it is all up to us. Yes, there are challenges for each one of us out there, but the more we together can be promoting the bottom line value of our profession, the more we can differentiate what we do from other options out in the marketplace that will better each one of us in the long run. My computer's a little slow this morning. Okay. Well, this tells me to bring my paper, hard copy of the script. Oh. Okay, I'm getting a not responding message. Okay. Pardon? Yeah, I am. There we are. Okay. I have a little video that I'm going to show you.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? Help! I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's nothing else left to do, is there?
And believe it or not, I have had days like that, where you find yourself so overwhelmed that nothing is simple. And while that is a silly video and funny, the point is that no matter what you hear, don't panic immediately. Nothing is ever as bad as it may seem right away. You may get bad news from a judge, a court administrator, a legislator. That doesn't mean the sky is falling down. You take a step back and we can all figure out how the best way to move forward. And I discovered this back in the mid-'80s. I was a deposition agency owner at the time, and I got involved with the California Court Reporters Association. I went to my first meeting in March of 1986, and what they were all discussing was legislation pending in the California legislature that would allow attorneys and depositions to videotape the depositions, and that would be the record. Because even back in '86, they were complaining about the cost of the court reporter. You know, and I was listening to all of this. I really didn't understand too much what was going on, you know, because I hadn't had the background. And I remember I was flying back, you know, to my home after the meeting and thinking to myself, I need to talk to my partner and see if we can sell our agency before anybody finds out that there's this bill in the legislature, you know, because I was worried. But what I learned in my dealings with the association is collectively they had a plan, and they ended up having a hearing. They went and testified. That piece of legislation died in committee. It never went forward. So that's what I tell a lot of reporters when they come to me about something that they have heard and they're very worried, is that there is a state association out there, and not that you can sit back and do nothing, but when they call, like to send letters to legislators or make phone calls, that's how you participate. But there are a group of very dedicated professionals that are looking out for you, and you have a very good association in this state. I'm very impressed with your leadership. So it's the same way. So what is a brand? You know, you hear the word branding a lot, but let me help frame what we're talking about when we talk about branding. At its core, branding is the relationship and the perception that your clients have of you. It's your look, it's your image, it's you, and collectively it is us as a profession. No matter whether or not you think that I am just me, you know, I don't have anything to do with anybody else, what you do does affect the profession, because the consumer takes what a reporter does and it tends to paint every reporter with what that reporter does. So it's important to recognize that whether you're a firm owner, a freelancer, a cart reporter or captioning provider, or an official, you do have clients. And especially officials, sometimes they think that they don't have clients, but officials have clients. The people that use our services and the people who make the decisions that impact our future. So it all comes down to value proposition. The term value proposition is somewhat a new phenomenon. It's within the world of branding. It's the core value that you provide to your clients through their eyes, not yours. It's always the perception. You know, in court, the judge tells the jury not to talk to the attorneys, not to talk to the parties, not even say good morning, because it's the perception. And perception is very, very powerful at times. So when you're talking about value proposition, you're really talking about differentiation. Why others should select you over other options that they have out there in the marketplace. So looking at your services from a value proposition standpoint, you want to know how your clients view your relationship. What is important to your client? Is it quality? Is it price? Is it service? Is it the repertoire of services that you provide? Or is it something altogether? Reporters are no different than any other enterprise out there. You need to know. So why do people admire brands? So think about some of the brands that you admire in the marketplace. And on the right up there, you see some of the 7 brands that are consistently ranked among the most admired brands in America. And why do people admire these brands? These companies are innovative. They are always working to innovate the products and services that they offer to the clients and to the public. They perform. Because they do what they do, whether it's making computers, software, or selling clothing, it's at a world-class level. Focus. Better than others, they know their clients, and they tirelessly work to deliver value-based service on their clients' needs. They all have high standards. They set a high standard for themselves. Their clients expect something more from them, and they deliver on a consistent basis, which creates our trust and admiration. My husband is a Mac devotee. I mean, he hates Windows. He loves Mac. He loves it because it's consistent. He knows whenever there's an upgrade, whenever there's a new platform, all the bugs are going to be worked out. He just loves them. And I know with Nordstrom, I don't shop there a lot anymore, but with them, you know, it's consistent quality. I could find the same outfit at another department store, but the quality is not the same, and yet the price was just roughly about the same as Nordstrom. And I knew that if I needed some kind of service within that purchase, they were there willing to do it. It was, you know, it was a known quantity, and that's why people would shop at Nordstrom. Then service. They know that no matter what business you're in, clients expect the highest level of service. That is extremely important in reporting, as it is in every other business. Really, service is the bottom line. So court reporters need to strive individually and collectively to create that same type of relationship with our clients. So how do you enhance your brand? So first and foremost, it's about your clients' needs. What's on their minds? Do they want to upgrade the technology that they're using in the courtroom for trial presentation? Do they want real-time access to transcripts during depositions? Are they fearful of losing funding within their districts and have to make hard decisions with regards to budgets? Who and what is influencing their decisions? And what additional pressures might they be facing? So, in light of that, how can you improve your services? What might you be able to do to become part of the solution rather than part of the perceived problem? Don't guess. Go right to the source. Ask them. The relationship you establish, if you haven't already, will only yield positive results. You use it as an opportunity to educate them on the various ways that reporters can provide services that will lead to a better, more positive outcome in depositions and in the courtroom. So how do you enhance your brand? Again, service. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, I'm in line with everything that you've said. You know, I'm sure we all are. Why wouldn't we be? But how do you go about enhancing your brand? First of all, it is about service. Use conversations with your clients to specifically figure out what their challenges are, and then do everything in your power to serve those needs. Position yourself in such a way that you are not only meeting their needs, but that you're calling attention to the fact that you are doing so. And that's really important. When you perform a special service for a client, when you give them the service that they need or that they didn't even know they need, you do need to let them know that you're doing that and subtly remind them that you're doing that. Innovate. See what you can do, whether it's through technology, whether it's working with a court administrator, or to connect to a litigation support system, whether it is finally learning to use the real-time software that will allow you to provide an instant transcript of parties in depositions and in court. Yes, we need to innovate. We need to constantly be looking ahead at what is coming. Promote. I just mentioned this, but as you innovate, as you answer the needs of your clients in new ways, be sure to toot your own horn. Make your clients look good, and then find subtle ways to underscore what you have done. And in reality, when you make your clients look good, they know that you made them look good, and who wouldn't want somebody around that makes them look good? And then it all circles back to service. Keep going back to the client and look to meet their next need and their next need. Overall, we need to exceed the expectations of our clients so that they come to expect the highest level of service, just like they expect from Google, from General Electric, and from Nordstrom's. So, what specifically can you do? Again, promote. Again, we promote our services, whether it is through NCRA or TCRA or through tactics that you develop on your own. Find a way to promote your services, what you currently provide, and what you are capable of providing in the future to the people that make the decisions about hiring the reporter. You know, it's researching and finding who has the power to make the decisions. That's the people that you want to be talking to. Keith mentioned this yesterday in his presentation. Dress the part. You know, you hear this over and over again, but it is so important because for better or for worse, people develop perceptions. We work around, you know, attorneys and judges where high professionalism is an expectation, and people make judgments. We must dress the part, we must look like we belong where we're at, and if that means investing in a professional-looking wardrobe, that's what we need to be doing. And when I was preparing this and working on this part, it brought back a memory of what could be a classic example of this. Back in the 90s, I was reporting in a preliminary hearing calendar. And so the attorneys would come and go, but on Fridays, we would get the trial attorneys, because in California, there's no trials on Friday, they do all law in motion. And there was one particular district attorney that we loved Fridays because she always wore the most interesting outfits. And one Friday, she comes walking in, and she has a chiffon thing on with sleeves and flowers. She has long blonde hair. She had the string of like silk flowers and leaves all in her hair. She had sequin nylons and sequin shoes, and I was looking at her walking in, and I thought, oh my gosh, the forest fairy's here. Anytime she no longer is with our district attorney's office, as somebody else now has that pleasure, but every time she came in after that, instantly I thought, forest fairy's here. You know, she had branded herself as the woman who wore the, to be kind, interesting clothes. You know, that kind of thing. You know, and she was an excellent attorney. You know, so it had nothing really to do with her skill and expertise, but the clothes that she wore, that's what people remember her by. So it's the same thing. You know, you really don't think so much, you know, when you're dressing about, you know, how is this going to impact, you know, what I do today. But it does have a overall total, you know, effect on your, you know, on your reception, on the perception that people have of you. Then we'll get into this somewhere else, but we need to make ourselves an indispensable part of the system. It is much harder for a judge, a court administrator, or attorney that makes the decisions to ultimately that will ultimately have a negative impact on us if they continuously see us as the people that are working tirelessly to upgrade our skills and to find answers to their problems and to do everything within our power to provide the highest level of service. In Riverside County, where I work, we all provide real time. That started in 1991, and it was slow starting off, but it gradually mushroomed, and we're all there. Those judges love their real time. They don't, we've had some judges that one day, the real time didn't work. He made the jury wait 2 hours while they fixed the real time. He would not go in. And I'm not saying that that's what should happen, but that's how addicted that they get to the real time. But what was really interesting about it is I started the real time in '91, and about a year or so later, the newspaper wanted to do an article about this new technology. And so they came to the courtroom, and they were interviewing the judge, and they were interviewing me, and they interviewed the court administrator. And so he was asked the question about how does this, you know, new technology, this real time, affect the court? And his surprising response was that prior to real time, we viewed court reporters in the courtroom as a service to the Court of Appeal. They reported, they prepared the transcripts on appeal, the Court of Appeal got the transcripts. We really didn't receive any value from them. He says, with real time, we're receiving value because the judge is receiving the real time, they're becoming more efficient, things go faster. And he says, and this really is what, for the first time, we feel like reporters are part of the team. We look at them now as, the total staff. And I didn't, until I heard that, I didn't really get how much they had not looked at us as part of the team, why they were always trying to get rid of us, because we weren't really doing anything for the court anyway. It was just all for the Court of Appeal. And that's the kind of thing that you need to look at, as far as being part of a team. Because, we don't want to be the people that are looked at that we're just there to draw a paycheck or get by the minimum amount of work, which is then very easy for people that can make the decisions to make the decisions that maybe they don't need a reporter around. So, going on that, go above and beyond. And no, I am not saying go out and wax the attorney's car, wax the judge's car, find the court administrator's car, and give it a overall waxing. But that is the intent of what I'm talking about. It is important for you to take the time to go above and beyond the call of duty. In short, sort of what I've said before, when you can make your client look good, when you can take the time to find out what challenges your clients are dealing with and figure out how you can be an answer to solve those challenges, you solidify your role. When you can take the time to research emerging issues that your clients and or the courts will be dealing with in the future and recommend solutions, you will impress your clients in a profound way. And when you take the time to put yourself in your client's shoes, you will create a mindset where you not only will be capable of doing whatever is necessary to help your client when they're in a pinch, when they are looking for new ideas, but you will want to do so on a constant basis. It's a positive and empowering way to go through your career. I'm a supervisor in my court now. I'm always looking at what's coming next, so that when I see what's coming next, I can be prepared, my reporters can be prepared for what's coming next. I hate surprises. I'm sure nobody really likes surprises overall, other than a surprise birthday party or something like that. And so I am constantly looking at, in the case of California, I'm looking at the budget, I'm looking at what we're doing, I'm looking at staffing needs, because we need to look into the future of what is coming. And it's that kind of image, that kind of brand that we as court reporters will benefit from within the competitive situation that we are dealing with now, and we will. Court reporters have always been dealing with this. We've always had issues. So how do we do that? We know your assets. What is also important is to know how to position those assets in such a way that you can articulate the value that you provide. Don't wait until the time comes when you have to defend your existence. Do it now, and you want to find ways to promote those assets before you're in a tough spot. Always, sort of like no surprises, nothing's worse than finding out something at the last minute and scrambling. I mean, we all do it, the associations do handle it, but it's much better to have those discussions and talk about what's coming and what you can do to position yourself. Determine what separates the reporter from other methods, like digital recording, video recording. And more specifically, what among these assets really means something to our clients? What is it of what we do is important to our clients? I firmly believe that our method is superior to digital audio recording and video. Still today, even with the advances in those technologies, we still are far superior. And we have the technology solutions that allows real-time hookup with litigation support and management systems. We have the ability to provide real-time services not only to the hard of hearing, but can provide daily and real-time services to other parties. Demonstrate real-time. And I could give a whole seminar on real-time, but I won't do that today. When people see real-time for the first time, they are just amazed. It is, when my judge first saw it, it was like he used to take notes. I mean, from a trial, it would, just be, this tall. He went down from that to like 1 page after real time. I mean, they just love it. And we're the only ones that can do it. So what separates you from other reporters, you individually? Let's make sure that if you have an apathetic, unprofessional reporter surrounding you, that you show your difference by your skills, your knowledge, and your service. What you're attempting to do is to return to the value proposition whenever possible. Why should your clients select you over other options in the marketplace? We probably cannot spend enough time on this subject, on demonstrating value to your clients. You need to show that you are part of the team. I tend to go back to that over and over again, that you are not only willing to match your skills with the needs of the client, but that you will be proactive in learning what their needs are. That you're going to come back to them again and again and again to get an understanding of what their needs are currently and what they're looking for, what they think is going to be happening in the future. That you're willing to do whatever is necessary to position yourself not just as a court reporter who can create a top quality record of the proceedings, but that you are continually refining your knowledge, that you can serve as an invaluable component of the team. So let's talk about the reality of the marketplace. After I've said all this, okay, let's talk about the marketplace. All that said, it is important to recognize the reality of the marketplace. Digital audio recorders will not stop positioning themselves as a cost-effective option to stenographic reporters. They are out there doing the same thing that I'm talking about now. They are going in and saying, we can meet your budget needs, we can be doing this. And they do that all the time. Our clients don't always discriminate by quality. One time when we were fighting ER legislation in California, we were talking to a court administrator about it, and his attitude, and the attitude of a lot of the court administrators, was, we don't need an accurate record. As long as we get an adequate record, we're fine. Of course, as court reporters, we step back in horror because we're accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. But from their viewpoint, they just need an adequate record, and video and audio recording can do that really well. So as the case has been, especially nowadays, when pricing is the only criteria to make a decision, we all become commodities. So they're just looking at, do I choose an audio-video system? Do I choose a court reporter? They look at it that is a decision that will not impact the quality of the legal record. Remember, I just said adequate versus accurate, and in that light, it's a pretty easy decision for them to make. So in this environment, your best and sometimes only advocate is yourself. By the time it gets to the point that digital audio vendors are being interviewed or requests for proposals are going out, it might be too late. Politicians and government employees will be looking for the PR boost that comes from being able to say that I save the taxpayer money without compromising quality, whether this is true or not. A lot of times they say things that you and I know are not true. So it behooves you and it behooves the profession for you to be out in front promoting yourself, promoting the value of the reporter before the issue ever comes up for debate. So again, the reality. Additionally, the reality is that there is a shrinking number of reporters in the marketplace. And there are subpar, less than motivated reporters out there who drag down the profession to some degree. And so that is why each of you must stay on top of your knowledge and skills. To do that, you take the next step in your professional development. Take time to demonstrate your value to clients, to keep your job, to keep your business. The economic pressure within local governments right now, as well as law firms, demand that everyone takes a long, hard look at ways that they can save money. And therefore, it is critical that we do everything to show ourselves as delivering value. You yourself, when you make decisions to buy products, to get things done, you're always looking at not only the price, but the value. And sometimes, when the value is good enough, you will pay more for that versus with the lower one with the less value. I'm going to talk a little bit about real time. The prevailing thought among reporters has been that the real time is the gold standard. I am going to say that is not true anymore. Real time really is the standard. And I'm going to be talking more in the next hour about the program that TnCRA has put together to help reporters become real-time capable. From the Writing the Future survey, 94% of the TnCRA members that responded to the survey believes that real-time is a superior method of making the record, and it is the one service that distinguishes reporters from any other method of making the record. The one thing. And so, as I said, the TnCRA board believes so strongly that every reporter should be real-time capable that the board has established the real-time grassroots task force, which its goal is to make, or to allow, every reporter to become real-time capable. And as I said, I will be talking about that later. This is sort of a preview. So let's look at what you can do on the personal level. There are those among us who are naturals when it comes to networking. We live for the opportunities to meet new people, to talk to new people, and to learn from others, sort of like what we're doing here this weekend. There are others that such activities are less natural, but don't use that as an excuse. We do need to take the time to network, to reach out to fellow reporters, to our clients, prospective clients, court administrators, judges. So how do you do that? What better way to network, to meet people, learn of exciting opportunities in your state than staying active in your association and TnCRA? Not only coming to these conventions, but reading the emails that you get from your state association, keeping up with what's going on. Another, and I said this yesterday, another way of really understanding what's going on in the state is get involved in a committee. You don't have to be the chair, and when you don't have to be the chair, that means you're doing some work, but you're not doing as much work as the chair. You'd be amazed how much you learn and understand about what's going on. And as I said before, it's a great way to meet new people, and things can come up, and I'll say that, well, gee, I remember Mary was saying something about that. You contact Mary, have that discussion. It is a great way to enhance your professionalism, enhance your career. Also, by making the contacts, as I said, you can leverage those contacts for future contacts, so that if you're talking to a client, they have an issue that they are looking at, you can contact so-and-so and get some information from that person, or they can direct you to somebody else who can give you that information. You're not so alone, you're not so isolated. It is really great to have, a group of reporters that you can interact with. So if you're not naturally inclined for the handshakes and the networking and stuff like that, you can do the social media. You can do Facebook and LinkedIn. I looked at the TCRA website. It has a lot of information. I'm not involved in the California Court Reporters Association, on a day-to-day basis or even a month-to-month basis. But every once in a while, I go there just to see what's going on, to see what legislation is happening. If there's anything I need to be concerned about, do the same thing. There's a lot of reporter-related Facebook pages. Go to those. Go to those. You never know when, by interacting on these social media pages, you will know, that will help your career. Long time ago, back when there was the Court Reporter Forum, I was involved with that. So was Keith. Long and short of it is, I ended up getting a job in Wyoming, which I was very happy about because I had been involved in the Court Reporters Forum, had discussions with Keith about moving to a place that had seasons, and I interviewed and ended up getting the job. I would have never had that opportunity if I had not been involved in the Court Reporter Forum. So you just don't know. And there's Depo Man, there's a lot of, TnCRA has a Facebook page, there's a lot of reporters, associations that have Facebook pages. Check those out, get involved. Not only does give you a chance to see who else is involved, but if a situation comes up, a lot of times on those you can post a question and get answers of how to handle something. It's really great for me as a supervisor. If I'm faced with a situation that I'm not quite sure how to approach it, I start making phone calls or sending emails and getting that input from other supervisors or other reporters that I know have a specialty in the area that I'm dealing with. You know, we each individually are great reporters. I think we're greater when we have that connection with other reporters. So, to take networking further, I've mentioned it's important to position yourselves. I've mentioned that there are subpar reporters out there. And I've mentioned how important it is that we collectively demonstrate the value that we provide to those in the legal system and who are in a position to dictate our future. No single outlet provides us with the ability to do more networking. It's a responsibility we share, so we cannot spend enough time talking about this. So from a personal standpoint, whether you're an official or a freelancer, you want to be in touch with the firm owner community. They have the pulse on the profession in such a way that they have a wonderful knowledge out there. And I know there's some firms you don't want to be in touch with. I mean, I don't want to be in touch with some firms too. But even I, as an official supervisor, if something comes up and it's technology related or how to handle a certain thing, I have several firm owners in my community that I still remain in contact with, and I will call them and talk about, especially the technology aspect of it, because usually it's something that they're already doing. You know, officials, at least in California, tend to lag behind the technology and, you know, what's current in the freelance field. And so I like talking to firm owners or freelance reporters about what they are doing and seeing how I can integrate what they're doing into the court setting. But likewise, you want to, as I said before, you want to reach out to other freelancers, other officials. The wider the network, the better. And of course, you really need to be networking with the key influencers, the attorneys, the judges, the court administrators, and, if you're game, the politicians and government officials who may not today, but at some point will be making decisions that will affect your future. Most importantly, and I've learned this over the years, your first conversation with a politician or a legislator or a court administrator should not be when there's an issue and you're scrambling to save your job. You should approach them during a time when you can have a discussion and there is no threat going on, there is no hidden significance behind your conversation, so that by the time something comes up that you really do need to talk to them about, they already are willing to talk to you. They're willing for you to pick their brains or call in a favor, and you won't be coming out. They already understand what you do. They already understand who you are. You don't have to go through that explanation when you really need to talk to them about a certain issue. Identify supportive legislators, and I'm sure your association has done that. They know who the legislators in your assembly, in your legislature are, and who are favorable to court reporters. Then networking with those. I am sure here in Tennessee, these legislators have fundraisers just like they do in California. We target the legislators who are favorable to court reporters. We always send somebody to a fundraiser. We make sure, which usually includes a check, but we always make sure that when we go, that we stop, shake their hand, say, I'm Toni O'Neil from the California Court Reporters Association, because that's all they need to hear. And that comes in handy. It could come in handy a year down the line, 2 years down the line, but they know you're there and they are already receptive to you. So, in other words, when you got to go hunting, you go where the deer are, and that's especially true with the legislature. You start making those relationships before there's some legislation that will negatively impact you. So the benefits, and I've already talked about some of the benefits. For freelancers, you get clearly the opportunity to meet potential new clients. Sometimes the legal community will have the attorneys and their local bar will have luncheon where they do invite ancillary support staff, legal. We always make sure we have a court reporter there, or several court reporters there to do that. It's just, seen and be heard. You don't even have to have a long conversation, but they see that you're part of that team. Again, especially for officials, you do need to have those conversations with your court administrator, even if the court administrator hates court reporters, because there are some out there like that. You need to know that. In Orange County, which is the county next to Riverside County, the court administrator for years that was there hated court reporters. I mean, he was a lost cause. But because we knew his positions on everything, we knew how to position ourselves to get around him or to effectively lessen, his power. So it's those kind of things that you need to look at. I'd much rather, again, no surprises, know who I'm dealing with, know what I can, what's important to them, know whether I can get this person to work with me or I need to go around this person and do something else. It's really, there's no real cost to it other than the fundraisers where they usually do have to make a contribution to them. But it really is fun. It's interesting to talk to those people. The legislators that support you really are interested in you. It's nice to have people that are actually interested in court reporting. And so you do need to have, that connection with them so that when the time comes that you need their vote, they're there for you. But the benefits of networking is that you're not alone. Even when you individually face daunting challenges, there are others who have had the same challenge and have made it through it and know what to do. And especially, again, that's your state association. There's your national association. TnCRA has a great government relations staff that if states have an issue coming up and they need more input, more help, that government relations staff is there and they really work with the state associations. So on a personal level, individual level, and on the state level, again, by having that networking, you really have that support system behind you when something comes up that you need to deal with. And what I really have learned over the years is that learning how others have tackled the challenges and what they have done really enabled me to meet my challenge and make my decision of how I am going to handle something. I'm a firm believer in not inventing the wheel, and a lot of people out there have already invented the wheel, and it's great to be able to take that and then tailor it to your needs. So then to the last letter of PROPS, which is service. So let me conclude by saying that we, as a profession, face, of course, a litany of challenges. We all know that. I don't have to tell you that. And it's also true, though, that there are a mountain of opportunities out there that together we can seize if we make a substantial, sustained effort to do so. It's really important, and I'm sure you've gotten this from what I've said so far, but that we take the opportunity to sell the virtues of the court reporting profession to the next generation of reporters. It is a fact that most of us have learned of court reporting from court reporters we knew. It isn't something, I never heard of it in high school. I never heard of it in college. It was something I ended up talking to a court reporter. We, individually and as a group, are our own best advocates. And we need to be out there with the positive message that what a great opportunity this profession represents. I'm sure you all heard the same thing. I went to school in the 70s. They were telling me in the 70s that tape recorders were going to take over the profession, and why was I bothering going to school? Well, I'm still here, you're still here, and it's our technology that keeps us here, and that's why we have to keep on top of that. Because in reality, you know it. We are the only ones that will carry the message. Nobody else does. And so we have to be out there on an individual basis and a group basis carrying that message. It's also real important to stay on top of the issues that are shaping and impacting our profession, such as the contracting, the certifications, and of course, our, I won't say battle, but yeah, battle with audio recording, and video recording. And it's important that we become the staunchest advocates of our profession and that we invest the time and energy to improve our knowledge and skills, because I believe that you never stop learning. And actually, that's what I really enjoy. That's what with this profession. I'm a great Jeopardy player. I know so much trivia. It's amazing because I took all those experts, because I learned all those things. I heard those attorneys talking. I hear the judge talking. It's amazing how much we know, because of the job that we do. And we really need to promote the profession. I would be very surprised if anybody in this room would say, I hate my job. because usually the people that come to conventions don't hate their job. So we need to go out, you know, and talk about this profession that we enjoy, that we love. I mean, I sort of fell into core reporting. It wasn't really like, okay, this is the profession I've researched and I'm going to go to core reporting school. I am so grateful that I was allowed to discover this profession. It has made such a difference in my life. You know, I've met great people. I have a good income. I am able to work with new reporters and enhance them, and you know, and allow them to turn into professionals. It just, you know, I learned, as I said before, I learned something all the time in this profession. I mean, I love listening to experts and, you know, about different topics, as long as they don't talk real fast. You know, where I'm just focusing at that time and not, you know, getting context, or I wasn't going to say it's not real listening. But this, you know, it really, you think about it, this is really an amazing profession. And I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of this. I'll get off my soapbox now. So persistence can pay off. I know in California, the association, I mean, year after year after year, we fight these battles. But year after year, we beat them. We beat the audio recorders. We beat the video recorders for court, other issues that come along, because we're persistent. It took TnCRA 8 years to get the legislation passed in the Congress for the Training for Real-Time Writers Act in 2008. But since then, millions of dollars have been paid to TnCRA-affiliated schools for federal grants to train reporters to do captioning and cart providing. As I said before, make friends with everyone. You never know when they'll be in a position to help you. You know, you're on a plane, you talk to somebody. You never know, that person could be somebody that you might need down the line. You know, one time I was on the plane, a guy and I started talking. He was a firm owner, or, you know, law firm owner. And he and I started talking about the technology. And I was an official at the time, so, you know, he was not a potential client. But he really got excited about what reporters can do. And it was just from that one little conversation. Understand that politics are everywhere. Whether it's with the court administrators, the judges, the attorneys, legislators, who really do want to help you when they can, but you do need to assist them in assisting you. You seem to have a wonderful lobbyist. That can make such a difference. But that is part of what the lobbyist does, is he educates the legislators. And he does that because you have enabled him to educate the legislators. That's what they need to know, because really, they have no clue. I was at boot camp this past February, and we had to visit all of our legislators, you know, from our districts. And of course, you don't ever talk to the actual congressman. You talk to the staffer. And so we would talk to the staffer. Those staffers had no clue what court reporters did, had no understanding that it was a court reporter that provided those captions that come across the TVs in the sports bar. I mean, they were really impressed by the time we got done what all we do. So it's always that sharing that information, you know, getting people to understand what we do. You know, if you could present a strong case for the profession, and more importantly, leave a strong impression with key decision makers and his or her staff, and continue to follow up on with new statistics and developments, that really makes their job easier. For the staffer, when he has to explain court reporting to his congressman or congresswoman, he looks good if he really knows what it is. And he really knows what it is because the reporters have given him that information. If he doesn't have that information, many of the times they don't go out and say, okay, well, I really need to learn about court reporters. They just sort of make these generalized, you know, decisions or judgments about reporters that really are totally off base about reporters. We have found that out. So between your lobbyist and any time that, again, fundraisers, that's a great time to start talking about the profession and getting people to understand what we do. It's amazing. And also be flexible. Things can change, new bills take priority, new actors may come in the field, new information becomes available. The legislative process moves very quickly. I am sure that you have discovered that. You can wait, you know, you think everything's fine in the legislature, you wake up one morning and there's a bill that's going to get rid of your job. I mean, that happens, it's happened to all of us. So, but that again that's where you get to, you work with your state association, they get things going, and that's why it's important to build your relationships early. As I said before, it isn't when there's a dire threat hanging over you as far as a potential elimination of your jobs. It's something that you want to start feeding and start building that foundation before that, so that when that happens, you already have that communication with the people that you need to be talking about. You need to have the key players know who you are, know who the profession is, know your state association people, and they need to be aware, you need to be aware of the threat of ER, and along with them, making that case of why we are still the best thing that there is. Why we really do, we may cost a little bit more, but what are the ramifications when there isn't a reporter there? They need to know that kind of thing. So, again, what can I do? And I hear this a lot when I talk to reporters is, I'm just one reporter, I can't do anything. I'm all by myself, I can't make any difference, why bother? But we can. We together are an amazing group of people. As I said before, you belong to your state association, you belong to TnCRA. I always look at it that I say I'm a professional. What do professionals do? What do lawyers do? What do doctors do? They belong to their professional associations. And that just doesn't mean just the local one or just a state one. They'll belong, we have, California, because we're such a large state, we have the local, bar association, we have the state bar association. They all belong to the American Bar Association. That's what you do when you're a professional. So there's a lot of things that TnCRA want to do. We want to stop contracting and gift giving to, from larger firms. We want to report in every courtroom, at every deposition, et cetera. I mean, there's a lot of things that TnCRA wants to do, and a lot of it is from what our members tell us that they want, and I'll go into that more in the next hour. So now, I get to give you a homework assignment. I would love everybody in this room to do at least one of these over the next course of the month, but think about this and thinking about what you can do. First of all, contact your friend that you know at the local newspaper or somebody to do with PR, and ask them to write a feel-good article about reporters, or explain to them about reporters so that they could do a little release. A lot of times they're looking for little stories. Have that conversation, or talk about how reporters are certified, or how, what the reporters do, or how the captioners provide that to the hearing impaired, anything as far as increasing people's awareness of us. Gather a group of reporters, and I think you've already done this, where you conduct CLE credits for the Bar Association. What we've done in Riverside is we've discovered over the past 5 or 6 years that we're pretty sure that none of those attorneys going into the district attorney's office or the public defender's office get any training about how to make a record. I mean, it's very evident that they aren't getting that training. So we put together how to make a record, a little over an hour. I mean, I could talk all day, but they don't have that time. But what they do in these offices, so that the attorneys can get their continuing education credits, is they do bring somebody in for over the lunch period, and those attorneys come bring their lunches, and then they listen to whoever's talking, they get their credits. Well, we put that together so that we go in and talk to like about 10 attorneys at a time when they have new attorneys, and talk about how making the record. It gives them the opportunity to get their credits, and it gives us the opportunity of making them understand, or hopefully they're understanding, how what they do affects how the reporter makes the record. We've sort of solved their problem. They're getting some training. It solved our frustration a little bit, because at least now we're talking to them. And then what's great is that then when I see them after that, we can have, how's it going? Have you been using our suggestions about making the record? We have a lot of that follow-up. And the reporters have said that it makes a difference, that they've noticed a difference. So look at that kind of a thing. Let's see. Okay. Again, as I mentioned before, talk to the key decision makers concerning being involved in future technology, upgrade meetings, budget talks. In other words, again, that you're part of the team, that you understand what is going on. You know, in Riverside, we have 4 court reporter supervisors because geographically we're a very large county, so our courthouses are spread out. But we do have meetings with our court administrator about what the issues are, and a lot of times there's things that we can do in our management of the reporters that actually help save money. The reporters still have a job, we are saving some money, and she just raves about the court reporters because she looks at us as we are part of the team. We realize there's an issue with the budget, we're doing what we can to, you know, help that situation. You know, and that really wasn't always the way it was in our court. You know, the reporters were always sort of in their own little, you know, they're all in their offices, they were all by themselves, never really got involved with anything else in the court, and we've really tried to change that because when you're a person versus somebody at a machine, that really makes a difference in how they look at you. Number 4, sign up for a certification test. Continue on. I don't have all my certifications with TnCRA, but I have decided that, and I've taken the CRR several times, but I have this problem with nerves, and so I have not passed it, and I just finally decided I am going to take that darn test. I may be 85 years old and still taking that test, but I am going to get my CRR, because it isn't like I took it in November, and I had really practiced. I mean, it was so slow. It felt to me so slow. It was such a good test. There's times I could hardly move my hands. I mean, I was so nervous, you know, and so I know I can do it. It's just the nerve factor. But I just thought, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm just going to, you know, until I can get it. Yes?
I have a comment you're talking about our convention trying to get a better perception of who we are.
Uh-huh.
Especially when you were talking about in the courtroom where we weren't a team member, we were just kind of
Mm-hmm.
public purposes. You're from California, and I wish that the California Reporters Association would maybe get hold of Hollywood, because it's the perception that the entire country gets from TV shows.
I know.
Every time they show a court reporter, first of all,
With the paper falling over.
we're way out in the corner, and they're up there
Yes.
with their closing in this. And, or if there is any comment to the court reporter, it's almost like a flippant comment, like, "You look so cute in your little skirt."
Yes.
So it's an image that is perceived about court reporters, not good.
Yeah. Yeah. We had, there was, I can't remember what the show was, but it was within the last year or so that whoever makes the decisions about who plays the court reporter contacted NCRA. And I forget what her last name is, but Michelle, she's my sales district representative for Stenograph. She went in, and she was actually the reporter and wrote on the DMI, because she is a reporter. You know, yeah, you know, it's very hard to get into Hollywood, as a lot of people know. But yes, you know, I just cringe when I see those TV programs, and they're either up like this, you know, or they're going, but of course people looking at it don't know that we don't just do this, yeah. That's right, that's right. And there's a couple other things that NCRA is doing along that line that I will talk about in the next hour. We have a great marketing and communications department now, and so they're really working on stuff, and I'll share that, you know, next time. And also the other 2 things that I wanted to mention was, you know, if your child is having career day, or your neighbor's child is having career day, volunteer to talk about reporting. You know, it was interesting. I did one of those one time. It was actually for homeschooled children, and they were having a career day, and so I was there talking about reporting, and the parents came along, you know, with them, and I always take my machine and computer because they're all interested in the technology stuff now. You know, they want to see how the words go through. You know, you have to appeal, you have to hook them in, you know, with the bells and whistles. You know, so I did that, and they were all interested. But then one of the fathers came up to me afterwards, and he said, "I never really understood what reporting is." He said, "I'm going to look into this. I've been looking for doing something, you know, different than what I'm doing." And so I talked about the schools in the area and such. You know, who knew? I was there for the kids, hoping that maybe someday, you know, when they, you know, graduated from high school, they'd remember the court reporting. And here, the parent went out, you know, and signed up and went to school and became a court reporter. You just never know. So, and if you're not currently a member of your state association or NCRA, become one. Again, I feel as a professional, and I look at this way for my reporters, you need to belong to your associations. In my court, when there's open assignment for a judge, we have the reporters apply. The judges do not get to choose who their court reporter is, because we have a union and we have a union contract, and it says they don't get to choose the court reporter. And so we have them fill out an application, and one of the things we ask them, do you belong to any professional associations? Because we like it, because if they do, they're getting continuing education, and that enhances the job that they do for the court. So we place a lot of emphasis on that, because it really does make a well-rounded reporter, and a reporter who is more aware of what is out there and what is going on in the profession. So every area that we discussed this morning, TnCRA is focused on. We've been looking at all of these things. And what I have done this morning is really trying to talk, make you think about becoming an advocate of our profession. TnCRA really works on that too, as far as becoming advocates, and has actually set up what we call a STEN advocate, and has materials that you can take about reporting and about the profession with you. In light of that, I'll take any questions, and if you have any feedback about the presentation, any way that I might, and TnCRA might be able to make it better, I'd appreciate that too. So now I'll open up for questions, and thank you. No questions? I hope I gave you something to think about. Yes?
I wasn't going to say anything else again, but
That's okay.
going back to your talking about the AR and courtrooms and stuff, and the adequate as opposed to
The accurate.
what I do, I've not often, but several times been asked to transcribe CDs from courts that don't use court reporters. And you know how they're, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good.
Yeah.
I don't go the extra mile to figure out something that's unintelligible. I listen 2 times. I'll go back and listen. If I can't find it, I put unintelligible. And I figure it's our job to make sure that those transcripts look like that, so that they're going to make it look one and say, maybe we're not doing so good.
Yeah, California has legislation right now pending, and it's already passed out of committee and passed out of the assembly, which will require the transcribers of audio or digital recordings to put in the inaudible parentheses or the unintelligible parentheses, because usually you won't see that. You won't, I don't know what they do to make it readable, but you don't ever see the inaudible. They just somehow, I really don't know if they fix it up, what they do. Yeah, that kind of a thing. Yeah. So this legislation, so far it has no opposition. I sort of was waiting for the, the FTRs and those people to come in and say, hey, wait a minute, knock on wood. I mean, they still could, but we've had real strong support for that. And yes, it's not going to make a huge difference. I mean, it's not going to change the way things, are done in courts immediately, but you start seeing these inaudibles and these unintelligibles. I mean, every time we have a fight, we talk about the fact that, you can't understand it. There is times where you don't, somebody shuts a door and you miss 3 words. If you have audio sync, that's true. And so, this way it will reinforce what we have always been saying to the legislature by why you don't want to have audio or you don't want to have video in a courtroom where somebody's, civil rights are at issue, somebody's money is at issue. It's important to get that accurate versus adequate record. Yes? Oh, for the audio, they do. We, in my county, we don't have any electronic recording. In misdemeanor courts and in limited civil courts in California, you have to have a record, but it can be digital or video. And so LA has quite a few of those. And a lot of the courts through the states have those. And so they send them out to a transcribing service. Those transcribing services, what they come back with, do not put in inaudible, do not put in unintelligible. And yet they know the reporters have a very strong association within LA County, because LA County has like 600 and some court reporters. It's sort of their own little state within the state. And so they have looked at that kind of thing. And so that's sort of where this bill came out, because we know that these inaudibles are in there. We know that they can't understand some of this stuff, but it's never reflected in the transcript. Back in the early 90s, the legislature came up with, they did a pilot project where they were going to have video and family law, probate, and I can't remember one other type of court. And several counties were selected as a pilot project, and Riverside happened to be one of those. And so they put in video in all of our courtrooms. Well, the court administrators arranged for a transcribing service to handle the transcript requests. It went out to, got the request, they went out to the transcribing service. He received the transcripts back, and within about, it took about some time, so about 2 months into it, where he had time to have a request, have it transcribed, get the transcript back, he ended up contracting with a court reporter agency to transcribe them because the transcripts were so horrible. I never got to see one, but for this assistant court administrator, who I know there was no love lost with him for court reporters, would not allow that transcribing service to transcribe that. And so they would give the video, and it had to be the original video because the copies were so bad that even the court reporters couldn't understand it. So they would have to get the original, that video, and transcribe it. And she charged by the hour because, you have to go over and over, and in this pilot project, we were smart. We got them to set it that these people that transcribed from the video couldn't charge any more than the statutory rate. Well, of course, he couldn't get anybody to do it for the statutory rate. So what he ended up doing is subsidizing it. She billed her, her per hour charge, and he would make the litigant pay the statutory rate, and the court would be paying for the remainder of the money. Needless to say, when the pilot project was over and they analyzed it, the pilot project didn't go any further. We still had to, we had to do a large lawsuit, a very costly lawsuit, because a lot of the counties, including Riverside, thought, I'm not taking the video out. And yet, under the statute, it said that they could not use the video anymore. And so we, in the judicial in our AOC, basically said, we don't care, we're going to use it. So the California court reporters sued, lost in Superior Court, and then won in the Court of Appeal, which actually gave us that court decision said that they cannot, not only can they put any kind of electronic recording in the courts, they can't spend any money to do it, they can't spend any maintenance on it, even if they already have it, they can't do anything to maintain it. So that doesn't mean we haven't fought ER legislation year after year, because they keep trying, but for a long time, we did actually have a period of time we didn't have any electronic, but then the budget situation came along, and so we're dealing with that again, just like everybody else. Yeah.
I take from your presentation that you don't consider digital recorded people as court reporters.
No.
You don't?
No. It's...
And the NCRA?
Yeah, NCRA does not. Yeah. I know there are states. This is sort of...
Are you aware that in the state of Tennessee, the criminal court or the judicial reporting, every criminal court, there's an official reporter for each criminal court? Are you aware? And they're in California.
There's official reporters, and then they're not side by side. There's either a digital reporter or they're side by side. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had heard about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sure.
In that aspect, the people who do the monitoring and notating, audio, digital audio, and the criminal court system, you don't consider a court reporter?
I've never considered that as a court reporter in the traditional sense of a court reporter. I know there are the states like that. Where I come from, it can it just isn't allowed. But yeah.
Are you aware that in Tennessee, well, even now, I have a license in my pocket
Mm-hmm.
that says I'm a reporter.
Yeah, I acknowledge that. I do. In this, well, NCRA represents the court reporter, the machine court reporter. And so that's where I'm here talking about. You know, I understand, I know you're not the only state that has that. I mean, I understand that that exists. But I am here talking to, you know, the brain, the live person that makes the record. Yes.
What I was going to say, for some years I had the contract for the United States Bankruptcy Court in Chattanooga and Manchester.
Yeah.
And in 2008, the end of 2008, the new head clerk, whatever, I cannot remember his designation now, Mr. Armstrong was his name, Danny Armstrong. He came from Knoxville to Chattanooga, and they had implemented the recording on the computers.
Oh, yes.
In
Yeah.
Greenville and Knoxville,
Mm-hmm.
and did away with my contract for funding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would incorporate in.
Yeah, she's saying that she was working as technically like a tape monitor within the courts where they recorded it, and she was overseeing that in bankruptcy. And then there was a change in court administrators, and then he just brought in the machines that tape, the computers that make the digital, you know, for the funding.
They did not have funding for the court reporters anymore, so they had implemented in Greenville and Knoxville the recording only in the United States bankruptcy court system. So he wanted to have it implemented in Chattanooga, and I went and pleaded my case. Yes, I could, because I had to close my contract. And he put me in the category with pencil, paper, and court reporter.
Yeah. I mean, I really,
Which broke my heart. I think I'm a little bit better.
yeah. I really believe that the court reporter, that we are the best as far as making the record. However, like in your situation, where, you know, or your situation, I'm glad that there's people there. You know, I think there needs to be a brain involved, you know, in making the record.
When it's audio, you have people sneezing, coughing,
Yeah.
talking, several people talking, and it cannot be differentiated between these.
Yeah. When we had that pilot project, the supervisor at the time, we were a couple of years into it, and the supervisor got a call one time, you need to send a court reporter over to Department F1 because we just discovered for the past 2 months the video wasn't working. You know, but the typical mindset at the time is that, and it took them about 3 months to repair and get everything going, and as soon as that happened, the court reporter was out and they were doing the video again as part of the pilot project. But fortunately, we were keeping stats. The reporters within, you know, the court were keeping stats because the court administrator didn't share that issue in his report, you know, to how the pilot project went in Riverside. But we were able to give information to the Court Reporters Association that, hey, they had this problem, you know, and had to call on the reporter because people's proceedings for 2 months didn't have a record. So, yes.
I talked yesterday about Judge Brothers, and most of us know what that experience is like, but for him to, well, I didn't see this part, but you know, he asked me to read back, and I saw that as a baby step, you know, in the right direction, dealing with him. And then at lunch, he talked with me for a good 30 minutes about, you know, how he got the rep, and then he wished he didn't have, he felt bad about that sort of thing. And although he did come back with a negative of, you know, wanting me to encourage people to go and video, I think that with this man, it has to be baby steps. We have to be grateful for the baby steps.
Yeah.
And I guess I just wondered if you had any other suggestions.
I would say doing what you're doing. You know, there are going to be people out there that will never acknowledge that reporters do anything well. You know, there are people out there that love video. You know, I mean, it's going to be there. For somebody like that, I think you're handling it the right way. You know, just, you know, continue doing a good job. You know, it's baby steps. You know, every person, how you handle people can vary. You really have to look at where they're at how to approach it, how their temperament is, how to approach it. You know, I just, they continue, continue doing the good job that you're doing. Did I see another? Yes.
TnCRA has a great website
Mm-hmm.
and also a great presence on Facebook.
You do.
For example, we put out kind of a plea several months ago for a reporter in this area to go tour the schools.
Yes, I saw that.
And we finally did get someone, and not sure if Stephanie Faulkner is here today, but Stephanie did volunteer to do that. But it was really a challenge trying to find someone to do that. So there are lots of opportunities, and I'm just encouraging everybody to go on, check your Facebook page, check the TnCRA Facebook page, because there's lots of opportunities out there, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at it as a great opportunity, but then we couldn't find anybody to do it, and all we needed was one person, just one reporter, and sometimes that can be hard to do that. And so we all have the opportunity sometimes to step up and make a difference, even if it's just going to a little high school and speaking about it
Yeah.
as a whole, and Stephanie did do that. So I'm encouraging folks to, we're doing that, TnCRA is doing that, so just check those Facebook pages.
Do you have, for your members, do you have email addresses for your members?
Yes.
You know, because what I suggest in that kind of thing is send out a group email to everybody.
Well,
And do that.
and we do, our website director is great with doing flyers, but unfortunately it was during the time when we were
Oh, yeah.
convention, and so yes.
Yeah, because that works really well.
And in fact, we started working on trying to find someone, I don't know, probably 8 months or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so we do try to get a lot of information on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I was real impressed. I always look at, yeah. I always, when I come into a state, I always look at their web page or, or Facebook page, whatever they have. And I was real impressed with Tennessee. I mean, I was able to learn a lot about what your association was doing. I was really impressed with Facebook and seeing what you were doing. And I saw that where you were asking for somebody to go to the school. That's a great way, again, of networking. Yes.
I wanted to respond, Sheila, to what you said. I have volunteered myself for several career days in the Chattanooga area, surrounding counties. However, with the marketplace the way it is, I'm a little reluctant to tell a young person to jump in and tell them how much I do love my job, but it has been terribly. I did not have a good year.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, it is improving, and I would like to say also that when you go to career day, the students ask me, well, where can I go attain this training? And then, my beloved Chattanooga State and my court reporting teacher, who I had thought so much about, she's no longer there, and why, the issue why Chattanooga State closed, and then also the Nashville school closed, and Ole Miss their program is no longer going. So
There's also some great online classes,
Yeah.
online schools that are nationally recognized as well, and I do understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I talk to reporters, because I understand that issue, but what I tell them too is that if you, especially with young kids who aren't really established, I mean, usually they're not married at that point. I mean, they have more freedom. I tell them if they're willing to move, relocate, they can find a job. Especially with captioning and CART, that's really an area that is expanding.
I was why are they closing that school? Is it because of the audio?
Well,
Out here,
I don't, yeah.
Is it something down the road that they are seeing where eventually our profession is going to be weeded out because of the digital and all?
I think it's a variety of things. I'll get more into this in the next as far as what TnCRA is doing. I think it's getting the message out that there is this profession. I think we still have a real challenge in letting people know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keith. Yeah. Yes. And we've talked about that too, looking at that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, I agree. I think they really need to look at that. Well, of course, they're in the business to make money. So the longer the student is there, yeah, you know, so yeah, that's, you know, that is something we notice too. So, any other question? Yeah.
Maybe this is completely off base, but as far as trying to get, encourage others into our profession, you know, used to we learn from our parents, and I find it interesting, you know, if your parents were engineers, you kind of gravitated in that towards that profession, and if your parents were court reporters, you gravitated toward that profession. And I find now that as reporters, I don't know if we're just so tired or not, but you know, and I do understand sometimes it's difficult to spark an interest in our profession when we're not encouraging our own children to go into the profession. How many people here whose parents, you know, there may be folks here whose parents were court reporters, but, you know, are your children going into that too? Or would you encourage your children to do it? So it's difficult to stand before, you know, a classroom and teaching ninth graders and encourage them about themselves.
There's always, when I'm trying to get my daughter to go into it, and she says, I'll do what as hard as you do.
That's what my daughter said too.
But I tell her there's captioning and cards.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't have available to us when we started. Yeah, it was depots or court. Keith?
Completely off. I mean, completely. Yesterday I gave 3 examples of things you could get. Unfortunately, those products don't exist.
Do you want to tell us? Here.
Manufacture anymore, but anyway, I sent the pages to Lynette, and she's going to put them on the TCRA Facebook page of the places I found with other solutions. So, just to let you know.
And I will be looking at that too. Oh, thank you.
Hold it down.
Okay, yes. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Well, we're about out of time. Thank you. You were a great group. I enjoyed speaking with you. Oh, by the way, somebody left an umbrella.